Hello, I'm Pooja Chaturvedi and you're listening to The Lounge Podcast, a weekly show that brings you news about music, movies, art and culture. Today's show is a curious blend of photography and stand-up comedy. In the first segment, Mint writer Komal Sharma speaks to Sunil Gupta, one of the curators of the Focus Photography Festival that's taking place in Mumbai currently. Quite remarkable just for the sheer scale at which it is happening, the Focus Festival is extending over 2 weeks from 14th March to 27th March. It will be held across galleries, boutiques, restaurants, including the Hermes store in Mumbai. There are free open libraries, workshops, talks. There's a lot to look forward to. Later in the show, we'll talk to an Indo-Canadian comic artist, Sugar Sammy, who will talk to us about his work. Just how difficult is it to make people like us laugh? And what's the future for stand-up comedy in India? So first, let's find out more about the Focus Photography Festival. This is Komal Sharma in conversation with Sunil Gupta, whose show is about contemporary photography by women. Hi Sunil, welcome to the Lounge Podcast.
Thank you for inviting me to speak about it.
Great. So first of all, how come you chose to highlight works of women? How did you pick up on that theme?
I had a fantastic opportunity in London to hear Judy Chicago talk about her work.
Okay.
The dinner party, almost like the first, you can almost start the history of feminist art from that work.
All right.
And the way she spoke about why it happened, when it happened, and the context and all that. And essentially, this was all in my head this year. What happened to feminism? Where did it go? Why it's suddenly like somewhat unfashionable it's become in the last decade.
Is that what you drew from finally when you put everything together? What sort of general conclusion did you draw from it?
Well, thinking about it, generally I thought, why not a women's show now? There's been a gap. Let's see what women want to do, are doing from
Any
their
particular
point of view. And I think especially for India,
right?
Because Indian photography has been rather driven in a popular sense
Right.
by male practitioners. And when I first did a photography show from India back in the end of the 80s, and I had 4 women and 4 men, and I can remember everybody in India said to me, a lot of the men in India were saying, these women, they're not real photographers. So I used to wonder, what did they mean?
What real photographers means?
What do real photographers do? Yeah.
So any particular artist, one or two, that sort of stood out for you, women photographers?
I want to try to think of some work that's symbolic of all this.
Sure.
I think it's the work made by Mohini Chandra.
Okay.
The reason why I think her work could be kind of symbolic of the whole project is she's taken some of the key feminist themes, which is to really look at the family album pictures, to look at a kind of vernacular photography.
All right.
And to look at the role, I guess, of the father. It's her photographs originally were of her dad as he moved around the world. And so with his family and without his family. But she's electronically removed his figure, and she's replaced it with studio backdrops. The family ran as a studio photography business.
Oh, okay.
And those backdrops are to us might seem quite exotic. They were in Fiji. I think she's managed to combine all these references to family album, studio photography, high street, which has been the most prevalent around the world.
Right. Sounds interesting. Sounds quite intriguing. All right. Thanks so much for talking to us, Sunil. There's lots to look forward to at Focus Photography Festival, and all the best to you.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, hope you enjoy it.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
That was surely intriguing. Moving on, let's go over to Sugar Sammy, who is going to perform in Delhi at the Fiki Auditorium on 16th March and St. Andrew's Auditorium, Mumbai on the 17th March. That's tomorrow and day after, so you may want to hurry up with booking tickets. Here's Sammy telling us what it takes to look at the funny side of life and comedy. Okay, Sammy, welcome to the Lounge Podcast.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so we've seen this trend of stand-up comedy is now picking up in India since last 3-4 years. So how did you start?
Well, I started in Canada where there was already a healthy scene when I was there. When I started out, so I was doing the comedy clubs and doing some open mic nights and performing at my college and in my high school. So that's how I got my start, and then it just evolved into a career.
Okay. So are you doing it full time now?
I'm doing it full time now, yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's great. So I believe your comedy revolves around Indian pop culture, arranged marriages, or even modern day relationships, which are pretty serious topics, you know. So how do you blend them with comedy?
Well, you always have to find the funny out of all these things, you know. If you really look every day, there's funny around us all the time. So our jobs as comedians is to always observe it, notice it, and turn it into a joke and turn it into an act, you know.
Okay. So how difficult is it to make people laugh?
It's fun once you get the hang of it, you know. In the beginning it's tough, but once you figure out the formula and once you get comfortable, once you become a professional, it becomes easy and it becomes fun and it becomes an integral part of your day.
Okay, so what is the formula like?
What's the formula like? Well, you have to get the premise, which is the story, and then you have to exaggerate it a little bit, and it turns into a punchline.
Okay. So apart from Comedy Central, are there any other places also in India which are opening up to host these kind of shows?
Yeah, there's a big comedy scene starting now. There's like a lot of comedy clubs. There's a bunch of shows in auditoriums that people are organizing. So it's becoming quite a scene, you know. And it's birth phase, like it's still in an early childhood phase, sort of, for the country. But it's about to explode. You can feel it.
Okay. So what future do you see for Indian stand-up comedians?
I think stand-up comedy is going to become a really prominent art form here in India. I think there's going to be more comedy clubs popping up. There are going to be comedy festivals. There are going to be tours with comedians, and I think it's going to be one of those new art forms that that are going to take off and become a staple in the culture.
Okay. So thanks a lot, Sami, for talking to us.
Hey, thank you very much.
Okay, all the best for your shows.
And you, thank you.
Bye. And with this, it's time to bid goodbye until we meet next week. Thanks for listening in, and do write to us at feedback@livemint.com.